welcome to the CNBC TV 18 special triumph for Bajaj. Just earlier today, Bajaj Auto has announced a new alliance, this time with Triumph Motorcycles, to add another brand to its portfolio. They already have KTM, by extension they have Husqvarna, and Triumph Motorcycles from the United Kingdom is the third addition to that brand. And joining me now to discuss that is the man himself, Rajiv Bajaj. Rajiv joining in. Rajiv, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Quite the coup, one must say, for Bajaj Auto, because with this, you are now in the entry-level segment, medium-duty segment, the sports segment with the KTM, and now you've entered with the easy riding, or the cruiser segment is how you put it. Talk to me now about the strategic rationale behind this, because it seems that you will also help Triumph manufacture motorcycles in the lower CC category. Take me through the strategic rationale before I get into more specific questions with you, Rajiv.
Well, it's a wonderful opportunity for Bajaj. As you said yourself, Ron, we are present in more than one segment. I've always said we are a marketing company more than a technology or an engineering company, and all marketing is basically about brands, and all brands are about attributes that they stand for. And, the sharper the attribute, the stronger the brand. So we are a company that makes, for example, a boxer for Africa. It's the largest selling brand in that continent. We are a company that makes the V, for example, for India, another successful brand that stands for a solid commuter. We make Pulsars and Avengers for the world. And all these brands together in the 100 to 250cc range, represent some very good options for what I would call commuters at large. Now, beyond 250cc, somewhere commuting becomes less important, and riding, if I may say so, becomes more important. And to my mind, above 250cc up until 750cc, this is where really the next big opportunity is, not only in India but worldwide. And essentially it's in two parts. Once again, speaking of attributes, there could be brands that are strong in this space, in the 250 to 750cc space, in the sportier, sharper, hard riding space. And that is where we compete with KTM. And as you know, over the last 10 years, that relationship has, really gone from one success to the other. KTM is on the verge of becoming the largest brand in the world in the premium space this year. But there is equally, at least equally, I would say, another opportunity which you refer to as the easy riding, or sometimes I refer to as the lazy riding almost, segment. And we had one piece in our puzzle that was missing, and that was a premium brand or an association with a premium brand, excuse me, in this space. So, Triumph is a company that I've been in touch with for about 10 years now. And I'm very glad that after a 10-year, period of getting to know each other, we have finally both felt comfortable enough to come together and hopefully to create some magic in this space, as we have done last 10 years with KTM, for example.
Right. You're talking about the 250 to 750cc segment, and interestingly, that is the segment that even Royal Enfield at their end have identified as the medium-duty segment that the company will also be focusing on, and that is going to bring you head-to-head. In terms of the opportunities and volumes globally that you can share with us, because as you're saying, your focus is primarily going to be within this segment.
Ron, honestly, this is the wrong question to ask, and I can say this candidly. Every time I have approached business with volume in mind, I've made a mistake. With KTM, we didn't ask ourselves about the numbers. We didn't say to ourselves 10 years ago that KTM should become the #1 premium brand motorcycle in the world. We just did the right thing. We had a sharp brand and we developed products around that. We went to different markets that were not accessible, or within reach before because of the price points involved. And look where KTM is, from 65,000 a year to 250,000 a year this time. Now, similarly for Triumph, it may appear as if currently where is the market for small Triumphs the world over? Because there are no small Triumphs today, at least none that people, especially in emerging markets, can afford. Fortunately, and thanks to Siddharth and his team and Royal Enfield, we have at least one shining example in India where one company has shown the way, that this can be a segment that is almost 7 or 8% today of the total market. Now, if we take that as a benchmark, and on top of that, if you put together the brand value of Triumph, which at least to me ranks higher than a Royal Enfield, and if you then add to that the capability of Bajaj in terms of design, development, engineering, manufacturing, sourcing, which in quality and cost terms, at least to my subjective mind, is superior to that of Royal Enfield, then you can begin to appreciate that there is a huge potential waiting out there that we can harness together.
Right. You know, you've said in the past that 70 to 80% of the motorcycle market is outside of India, and therefore, you know, therein comes your global ambition of being sort of, you know, being one of the preeminent motorcycle brands globally. So talk to me a little bit about the markets that, that you will be focusing on, at least in the first leg of your arrangement.
Well, if you see where things stand today, I would say the first and most important market should be India, because this segment is closing in on a vehicle size of 1 million units per annum today. In that segment today, Enfield is probably 75% of the market. We have now grown steadily in the last 18 months thanks to our product interventions like the Dominar, like the upper-end Pulsars like the RS and NS, and of course the KTM. We've grown to acquire about 15% share approximately in this segment. So I think Bajaj has good traction here already, and this should obviously be the most rewarding market for this relationship between Bajaj and Triumph. But beyond that, as Bajaj, we are going to take responsibility for certain global markets on behalf of Triumph and in line with their policies, because ultimately they own the brand. These would be markets in most of Africa and several important markets in both ASEAN and LATAM. And Triumph, of course, will take these products to all other global markets, including to the developed or the advanced markets. And I think the potential there will also be significant. I mean, again, if one looks at what has happened with KTM, it's not just the 100,000 vehicles that Bajaj makes this year, the smaller ones going to emerging markets. That is the story of KTM. The story of KTM is also about the 150,000 bigger KTMs that KTMs themselves have taken to their markets. So I think there is a huge global opportunity across markets for a Triumph that is made to world-class standards and that is suddenly brought to price points that were previously considered inconceivable, especially in emerging markets.
So when do we see the first product coming out then for the India market then, Rajiv? And currently, as you alluded to, over 1/3 of KTM's production now happens at Chakan. So when do we see these motorcycles, being ready for production back home here in India?
Yes, we do envisage to make the Triumphs at our Chakan facility, whether it will be the existing facility or a new one right next door, for which we have already acquired land. I'm not quite sure as of today, because my own anticipation is that the volumes could scale up very rapidly, both for KTM because of the introduction of Husqvarna next year, which is something we announced last month, and also, with Triumph coming in. So we might have to actually add a plant in Chakan. In terms of product development, it won't be one product that we go to market with. It will be more than one, because clearly if we have to go to entrepreneurs and ask them to set up dealerships, it's not very inspiring to do that on the back of just one SKU. So we will go with more than one SKU. How many exactly, that time will tell. In terms of product development time, typically a ground-up motorcycle is a 3-year effort. But I can share this with you that in anticipation of this partnership materializing, the two companies which have known each other, as I said, for the last 10 years, had already started work a few months back, both on the vehicle side and the engine side. So we've saved ourselves a few months of work by working, because engineers tend to agree easily with each other because they speak very logically. Business guys like us take a long time negotiating the contract. So Joe and Pradeep and their counterparts have already started work. Ravi and I have been delaying the process, but finally it has come to be.
Bajaj takes a lot of pride in being the world's most profitable two-wheeler company. So therefore, my question is with respect to margins. You've always kept it at 20% plus. That's the ballpark range where you want to be. What could be the possible impact on Bajaj Auto's sort of, combined consolidated margins once the products are ready for production with Triumph?
Well, first of all, Ron, I would say that our priority has never been margin itself because, at the end of the day, margins are controlled more by competitors than by yourself. What we are very particular about is pricing power. And what we insist and the pressure we put on ourselves is that in every segment that we compete in, right from the Boxer in Africa to the Dominar in India through to the KTM sold in Germany, we must be priced on par with the best of the competitors. Because that's the only proof at the end of the day that the consumer appreciates your work. Now, if that price yields us a margin of 20%, a blended margin of 20%, okay, that is our good luck because we are doing something efficiently and more importantly, we are perhaps not getting distracted and frittering away our money in some other segments, i.e. scooters, for example, in the context of Indian market, that our competitors may be doing. So, but margin is a secondary issue, frankly, for me, from a strategic point of view. The more important point is the pricing power or the pricing parity. In that context, what I would say is that every Triumph, like every KTM has been, will be priced on par. I mean, it's not going to be sold as a cheap motorcycle. It's still going to be an expensive motorcycle. Now, what the pricing will be will depend on the market, will depend on what competition is doing there, will depend on what product we make exactly, what exact displacement, because there is a very close correlation of price to displacement. So this will all unfold as we go ahead. It's going to take a couple of years, if not more, to get these products out. But definitely, pricing power has stood us in good stead. It has given us a blended margin of 20%. Obviously, a Boxer doesn't make 20%. Obviously, a Pulsar or Avenger makes much more than 20%. In that sense, we are not directly comparable to Enfield that compete only in one segment and therefore, in isolation will demonstrate a higher EBITDA. But as a company with this portfolio, yes, nobody else is able to do this so far, and I hope and I'm sure that even with the Triumphs, we will be able to demonstrate the same standard of excellence.
Well, we'll have to hold that conversation for just a bit. Let's slip into a break. On the other side, the chat continues. Stay tuned.